Hey everyone, I'm a 30-year-old male and I finally feel like it's right to share basically my whole story on here with all you people, mainly because as of last night, it has basically come to an end. I'll try to be as concise as I can, but I feel like parts of this are going to need to be long, so please bear with me. I have always been an awkward person. Because of this, I found it hard to stick in long-term relationships as I would be afraid to take the relationships to the next level. Because of my upbringing, I hold any form of physical affection on a very high pedestal. For me, sex and the emotional connection in a relationship are pretty much equal in their amount of importance, and this is why I never had sex with anyone until I met my soon-to-be ex-wife, a 24-year-old female. I chose her because we had such an easy time getting along and because we could talk for hours about basically any topic. After that first awkward bit of sex was also amazing between us and still is. For the 4 years we have been together, we have barely had a fight. But everything changed in late April of 2024. My wife was making decisions which I took as her replacing me with other people, and more specifically, men in her life. One instance would be when she was out walking and she saw a creepy guy that made her uncomfortable coming in her direction. Her immediate response was to call her friends she had made only 2 to 3 months prior, which she met on a farming simulator live stream, just in case this guy did something. She wanted someone to know. At the time, she was only 300 to 400 feet from our house, so it made no sense to me that she chose to call other people that she barely knows instead of me, her husband of 3 years, to feel safe. When I brought this up to her the next day and said I felt like I was losing her, she simply said, "I feel like I'm lost the spark with you." With this revelation, I was shattered. What had I done so wrong to deserve this? How could I fix this, and how can I make you fall back in love with me? These are all things I was thinking. Denial and bargaining. She gave me a list of things that need to change. I needed to lose the huge amount of weight I gained, 200 pounds. I needed to give her space if she needed it. And finally, I had to be nice to her family and try to start conversations with them when I saw them. We started therapy as well. Individual. To work on ourselves. She did not want to do couples therapy until we figure out what was going on with ourselves. I have been to 7 or so weekly appointments, and she had been to 4 or so. She had a harder time getting in. The therapy has been doing wonders for me. I have been developing fantastic coping mechanisms, and I've been learning how to better deal with high-stress situations. I have yet to get to the root of my issues, but I'm getting there. For my wife, on the other hand, therapy has just made her realize she hadn't had feelings for me all the way back to a week before our wedding. Learning this last night was extremely painful. I believe my wife kept this from me after she learned about it because she didn't know how to tell me and she didn't want to hurt me too bad. I was completely ignorant to everything that was wrong. Until April of this year, I thought we were a relatively perfect couple who were settling into married life with kids, but apparently I was wrong. So with all that out of the way, let's talk about the straw that broke the camel's back per se. I was driving my 15-year-old nephew home from a 4th of July parade in my town when he brought up that I had mentioned I was going to therapy and was wondering why he thought I needed it. I told him that my weight gain is caused by mental issues I probably have and that my aunt and I are having a little bit of a tough time right now, so we're trying to figure that out. In response to that, he said, "Oh, that makes sense then, because I saw something weird on her Facebook." To this, my heart dropped. I asked him to elaborate, and he said that she had been receiving compliments on her pictures, which I would be okay with if they weren't so personal and so on. The comments were all coming from one person. "Thank you for contributing to ruining my marriage, Sean. I know it was not only you, as flirting is a two-way street, but you are still complicit, so you are trash to me. Have some morals, jerk." This person was someone I had felt uncomfortable with for months. My wife would text him nonstop for days, every 10 minutes, back and forth on Snapchat. I caught her doing this that slightly bothered me, and I would voice my opinion to not let the issues fester. One thing was cringy and something that people would consider minor, but she played Minecraft with him and would sleep next to him in their beds in Minecraft. This was something she would do with me, but we stopped playing games together when we started squabbling. I mentioned that it seemed weird, and I thought she was living out a fantasy with him, and she told me, "You get mad at the smallest things," and I moved my bed when I realized that I put it down next to his. Gaslight number 2. Another time, we were playing with our daughter when I turned around to say something to my wife and I saw a shirtless picture of him on her Snapchat. A private message from him, not a story. I told her I didn't think that was something that should be okay to receive from anyone when you're married, unless they were doing a shirtless activity like swimming, and that I thought it was inappropriate considering what we're going through. She would say, I don't understand what the big deal is. He was just changing his shirt, so why is it a big deal? Gaslight number 3. There are many more things like this, but I just wrote them off as you need to let your significant other do what they want, and if you don't, that is being controlling. Now I realize that is not the case, as the right answer is to set clear boundaries with your partner that are not to be crossed, but that was learned too little too late. So knowing some of the suspicious behavior now, we can return to last night and the pictures with the compliments. Her friend would say, "You're a princess," or respond to her with, "Yes, my love," when she said something in a reply to him. The final straw that pushed my blood pressure through the roof was the fact that he changed his bio on Facebook to this. I love me some tater tots, especially the ones that come with attitudes. Tater tot is what my wife goes by on gaming platforms. Needless to say, learning all this, I was mad. I needed to be at her work in roughly 15 minutes to pick her up. I told my nephew that he did really good bringing this to my attention, and I really appreciated his honesty. I was able to get my emotions under control, and I decided that I needed to bring this to her attention once the kids went to bed. I told her when she got in the car, we are having something to talk about later, and left it at that. This ate her alive for the whole drive. She kept asking me what she did and why I was mad now, and I would just tell her that we'll talk about it later when the kids are sleeping. After we got home and put the kids to bed, I started a campfire to try to enjoy my personal favorite holiday. I started by asking her, "So why did you delete your Facebook again?" As she told me recently she deleted it. And I quoted what she said as, "Because I don't work at the job that needed Facebook and I don't need that stuff." I replied to this saying, "Are you sure it wasn't because Sean was treating you like his girlfriend?" I could tell her heart dropped out of her expletive. I'll cut this part a bit shorter as we talked for 3 hours about so much stuff, but here are the cliff notes of the important parts that pertain to this post. She had been planning on leaving me for 4 months now, before our outward fighting, to the point of having her sister buy her a domicile on her mom and dad's property. She didn't think she had feelings for me even before our wedding day in 2021. She admitted to having an emotional affair with Sean over text for months and months. She admitted to gaslighting me every step of the way in those regards pertaining to the affair, with the bed thing in Minecraft. She did do it on purpose, and the types of Snapchat messages he would send her. And finally, she had been finding reasons not to spend time with me. Pain, utter pain is what I experienced last night. I thought we were right for each other. I thought we were in a rough patch that needed some working through. I thought there was hope. All the while she had been planning on moving out without me knowing, she was fooling around behind my back and gaslighting me about it, and so on. Last night, I simply learned that she is a lost soul, and I don't know if she will figure herself out in time. We didn't even fight last night. We just talked about everything. She was so sure that if I found out, I was going to flip out and kick her out of our home. I would never do something like that to my wife and the mother of my children, and I was able to prove her wrong last night. I told her that since everything is all on the table and she doesn't want to fix anything, that there was nothing for me to fight about with her and we can be amicable friends and co-parents until she finds a house or apartment to live in with the kids, as I want them in a good situation when they are with her first and foremost. I want them to want to go over there, and the abode her sister bought her is not going to work with the kids. This leads us to this afternoon when I'm writing this post. There's so much I'm leaving out, but that's what happens when you've been with someone 4 years. You have too many things to write in one post. That is pretty much the most important parts of the degradation of my marriage and how it is coming to an end as I write this. In a way, I'm glad she will be happier, as that is all I want when it comes to her, is for her to be happy. I want her to do good, and I want her to succeed in life for herself and our kids. We have agreed on 50-50 custody of the kids, the 2-2-3 method, and we will still be friendly to each other. When she finds someone else, I'll back off to not interfere with her relationships and such. But we can still have normal conversation or go on family outings with the kids.
I don't know how we got to this resolution, but we did, and it kind of feels good. Thanks to every single person that made it this far. It feels good to air all this out and let people know that I'm experiencing this too, and you're not alone. Keep on keeping on, everyone. I believe everything will work out in the end. Too long, didn't read, /TLDR. I had what I thought was a happy marriage for 3 3/4 years. My wife started acting off earlier this year. I brought this up. She said she lost the spark with me and she told me what I needed to change to keep her. I made the changes. I noticed her being too friendly with online people, only to realize she has been gaslighting me on my concerns over this, and she was actually having an online emotional affair. She is not willing to work things out, as she believes she has absolutely no attraction to me in a relationship way, so we are going to split. Somehow we are still friends and we will be able to both see our kids in a fair manner. I am willing to answer any questions if anyone has them. Thanks all. Have a happy holiday.